Yo, what's good everybody? I'm your boy Jiro, and this is my Omni Slide build for the Druid in Diablo 4 for Season 4. Let's get right into it. And first things first, let's go over these aspects. So the first aspect we're going here is the subterranean aspect, and this allows our Poison Creeper to have a Landslide proc, and it also increases the damage we deal with our skills. Moving on, we're going the Aftershock aspect as well, and this allows Landslide to proc additional times. Then moving up to our Earthbreaker ring, it's the only unique that we have for this build, and this allows Landslide to cast additional Landslide procs on top of the ones we're already getting from the Aftershock aspect. It's crazy. Then moving up, we're going to Shepherd's aspect, so this increases the damage we deal with our core and our Wrath skills based on how many companions we have. Then we're going the aspect of Retaliation on our necklace piece to further the damage with our core abilities based on our Fortify. Then moving on to our armor, we're going the aspect of Concussive Strikes, and this will increase the damage we deal to dazed enemies, and it will give us the ability to daze enemies. Then moving on to our chest piece, we're going the aspect of Might, and this will grant our basic skill the ability to give us damage reduction. Then moving down to our gloves, we're going the aspect of the Trampled Earth, and this will give our Trample ability a Landslide proc as well, and it also makes it an Earth skill. Then moving down to the pants piece, we're going the Undying aspect, and this will give us a heal when we cast abilities. And then finally down to the boots, we're going the Symbiotic aspect, and this is simply to grant an additional cooldown to our Trample. And the reason why we want Trample up all the time is because it gives us that unstoppable proc that this build needs. Now let's talk about tempering since we're already on this page. As for the weapons, all I want is that additional chance to get another Landslide proc, and then you also want to put the increased damage on your weapons. And as you can see here, I also did the same thing for my totem. As for the tempering on the jewelry, what I got here was the resource cost reduction. We really want Landslide to be as low as possible in terms of resource cost. And as for the affixes that I switched, I wanted either damage or attack speed or critical strike chance. Guys, moving over to the armor pieces here, you simply either want to put maximum life, get resistances, or add more armor to your class. As you can see here on my helmet, I put additional maximum life. On my pants, I put increased total percent armor. And as for my boots, I even reduced the cooldown of Trample. And now onto the gems, simply just put rubies in your armor. Maximum life is damage reduction. Think of it that way. As for the weapons here for this build, I increased the critical strike damage I deal with emeralds. And then as for your jewelry, just go the gem that fixes the resistance that you need help with the most. So let's move over here to the right and go to our Spirit Boons next. So as for our Spirit Boons, we're going Wariness to reduce the damage we take from elites. Then we're going Iron Feather to increase our maximum life. And then we're going Avian Wrath to increase the critical strike damage we deal. Moving down, we're going Pack Leader. This gives us the ability to reset our Poison Creeper. And then finally for the Spirit Boons, we're going Calm Before the Storm to reduce the cooldown of our ultimate skills while using Nature Magic. Alright, let's go over to the last tab here and go over the primary and secondary skills next. So as for our primary skills, we're going 1 into Wind Shear, and we're going the version of Wind Shear that allows our enemies to be vulnerable. Now moving down to our core skills, we're putting a full 5 into Lightning Storm because we want those Landslide procs that proc Lightning Storm to do crazy amounts of damage. Then we're putting 1 into Landslide, and we're going the version of Landslide that increases the amount of Landslide procs we get. Then moving down to our companion skills, we're putting 1 into Poison Creeper. And then we're putting 1 into Ravens. And then we're going the version of Ravens that allows us to have 2 additional Ravens. That's a lot of Ravens. And this is simply just to stack with the Shepherd's aspect. Now moving down to our Wrath skills, we're going 1 to Trample. And we're going the version of Trample that when it's procced, it grants us Spirit. Now moving down to our ultimate skills, we're going Petrify. It just gives us a crazy amount of damage. And then finally for our key passives, we're going Nature's Fury. Now this gives us the ability when we're casting an Earth skill to trigger a Storm skill. And when we cast a Storm skill to trigger an Earth skill. You get the picture. Well, that does it for the primary skills. Let's move on to those secondary skills next. All right, starting off the secondary skills here, guys, we're going a full 3 in Defiance to increase the damage we deal. And then we're putting a full 3 into Natural Disaster for the same purpose. And then we're putting 2 into Resonance to increase the damage we deal with Nature Magic skills as well. As for Circle of Life, we're putting a full 3, and this is just to give us some sustain and life on hit with our Nature Magic. Moving up, we're putting 1 into Neurotoxin, but what we really want here is End Venom, and this increases the critical strike damage we deal with our companions and ourselves. Then we're putting a full 3 into Crushing Earth to increase the damage we deal with Earth skills. And then a full 3 into Stone Guard to increase the damage we deal with Earth skills. And then we're putting a full 3 into Safeguard to increase the Fortify we get with Earth skills. Now moving up into Elemental Exposure, we're moving straight into Charge Atmosphere. But what we're putting a full 3 into is Electric Shock. Electric Shock will give our Lightning Storm procs from Landslide the ability to immobilize our enemies and increase the damage it deals. Then we're putting a full 3 into Bad Omen to give us a 30% chance when dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy to summon a Lightning Bolt, which does big damage. Then we're putting a full 3 into Clarity so that every time we use a companion skill, our core or wrath abilities have increased critical strike chance. So we're going no defensive skills, and we're putting 2 into Predatory Instinct to increase our critical strike chance to close enemies. Alright guys, so that does it for the primary and secondary skills. Let's move on to that Paragon board next. So here we are on the Paragon board, and we got 6 boards this time around. So we're going to skip past the first one, and we're going to go straight to the second board, which is the Thunderstruck board. And we're getting Thunderstruck to increase the damage we deal with Storm skills. And as for the glyph on this board, we're going Electrocution, so that the lightning bolts that hit our enemies increase the damage we deal to those enemies. Moving up to our third board here, we're going the Earth and Devastation board. And the Earth and Devastation legendary node will increase the damage we deal with Earth skills. If you guys see the background change on the game, it's because the game logged me out. And as for our third board glyph, we're going Earth and Sky, and this increases the nature magic we deal to vulnerable enemies. Now the fourth board is the Inner Beast board, but we're not going the Inner Beast legendary node. I simply went this board only to get the 8% increased maximum life. Like I've said before in this video, maximum life is damage reduction. And as for the glyph that we're going on the Inner Beast board, we're going Spirit. This will increase the damage we deal from our critical strikes. Now moving down to our fifth board here, we're going the Heightened Malice legendary node. And this will increase the damage we deal when there's 3 or more poison enemies around us. And the glyph we're going here is Territorial, and this will reduce the damage we take from close enemies. Huge. And as for the sixth and final board, I'm going the Ancestral Guidance legendary node. This will increase the damage we deal after spending 75 spirit. Now as for the first board here, the glyph that we're going is Human, and this will reduce the damage we take while in human form. And guys, you know I got the build over at Mobalytics, so if you want to go check out my profile there, it's called the Omni Slide Druid build. And I have everything here from the assigned skills, skill tree, Paragon board, all the way to the aspects and the gems that I go. And I also have a version of this build called the Pet Slide build if you want to go check that out for yourself. So I'll include a link in the description and in the comments for you to click, and you can go find the build there. Alright guys, so that is for the primary, secondary, Paragon board, and the Mobalytics plug. Let's move on to that rotation next. Alright guys, here we are for the rotation. Pretty simple stuff. Just keep your Landslide and your Poison Creeper proccing at all times. And then if you're dropping low on Spirit, just drop your Wind Shear. And your Wind Shear, you can sneak in between the attacks, but as you can see, the damage just keeps going, right? And especially against bosses and such, you could also proc your Petrify, just to increase the damage you deal. It's pretty sweet. And if you're ever CC'd or stunned, just proc your Trample. That's your unstoppable proc to get you out of there, and it also gives you Spirit. But just keep rotating between Landslide, Poison Creeper, and your Wind Shear, and you should have a pretty permanent uptime. And don't forget in the boss fights to proc Raven too, so you get that vulnerable proc. Pretty simple stuff. Alright guys, so that was a rotation demonstration, but let's put this build to work and do a tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon next. Alright guys, so if you made this far in the video, don't forget to drop a comment and let me know what kind of guides you want to see or what kind of builds you want to see. It really helps me out as a content creator, know what you guys want. And that way I can make those builds for you or even try new things. So don't be shy, let me know down in the comments. So here we are, tier 100 guys, and I always recommend if you're feeling squishy or whatever, or you feel like you're not doing enough damage, always go to your elixirs. For me personally, I like the Elixir of Holy Bolts, like who doesn't? But I also like the Elixir of Fortitude to increase our maximum life. But for the purposes of speed, let's go the Elixir of Holy Bolts. Alright, just like we did in practice, here we go. Pretty sweet. So guys, I usually do a lot of talking when I do these kind of these runs. It's a little more candid because I can't really think. I'm doing two things at once, so forgive me if I go quiet. But this is how I just like to give you guys a clean run. With minimal cuts. The only time I do cuts in these kind of videos is if there's some dead time or some downtime. But as you can see guys, just plowing through tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons. Here we go. Big damage there. I must wait a moment. Sorry guys, I died trying to free the prisoner while fighting. Not a good idea. Just don't stop. Always keep the uptime going, guys. Don't stop. Don't make any foolish mistakes like that. That was a foolish mistake. I tried to free the prisoner while there was still enemies on the screen. But if I'm being completely realistic, you know, deaths happen, guys. You know, you're not going to have a perfect run every time. And that's okay. I'm just here trying to help out my fellow gamer get to the game as a druid. And if this build with only one unique can push to a tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon. Nice big pack here. Drop the Petrify. Poison Creeper. Nice. I'm not ready yet. Boring. There we go again. Spamming that Wind Shear, Landslide. Pretty sweet. Alright guys, here we are at the boss fight. Wish me luck. Here's some single target damage. I must wait a moment. Now what I'm going to do here is just proc Landslide. And as soon as my Poison Creeper comes up, I'm just going to proc that too. Pop Petrify. Get that stagger going too, because this build is really good at staggering your enemy. And once they're staggered, they take a crazy amount of damage, as you can see. This build definitely pumps. I'm sure with more uniques, like I've seen on some other builds, this build would absolutely just devastate. But we're only running the Earthbreakers unique. And we're almost there. And boom. Perfect. So that was fun. That was a tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon, but let's get on to that build summary next. So as for the aspects, guys, I'll chapter that for you in this video, and you can go check it out there. As for our skills, we're going Wind Shear, then we're going Landslide, and then we're going Ravens and Poison Creeper. Then we're going Trample for that unstoppable proc, and then we're going Petrify for that big damage. And we're also investing 5 points into Lightning Storm to do additional damage. As for Spirit Boons, we're going Wariness, we're going Avian Wrath, we're going Pack Leader, and then we're going Calm Before the Storm. As for the primary, secondary Paragon board, you guys can go over to Mobalytics and you guys can check it out there. I'll include a link in the description and the comments. And finally, as for the tempering, the jewelry, and all the affixes that you want to get, I'll also include that chaptered in this video. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to let me know in the comments if you want to see a particular build. And guys, don't worry about liking and subscribing. If you simply enjoyed today's video or brought you any kind of value, that's all I could ask for. Thank you guys so much. Well, I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm your boy Jadiro, sign out for now.